All right, all right. Welcome to another edition of This Week in the CBL. We have gone from the top one or from 128 teams in the league to the final four. We are just like March Madness, boys. We are winding things down, and it couldn't be more fun. Tonight we've got Chris on the show. Ram is supposed to be joining us in just a few, so hopefully he'll be here soon. But Chris, we have got to talk about the most important matchup that we have had in the history of the CBL. We have the battle for the Banana Trophy, the Jersey Cup, Seton Hall and Rutgers facing off for bragging rights in the state of New Jersey. What do you think about this matchup and how it's going so far?
I mean, I was told this was, again, like you said, the most important matchup we've had all season long, right? It wasn't the NIT, it's not the Final Four, it's the New Jersey Cup, right? That banana's very highly coveted, and so far, I mean, it looks like that banana's staying home, right? The infamous Peter buying the trophy for himself trick is definitely working so far, but we'll see if Luke has anything to change up in this next waiver run, right? A lot of good talent out there, so we'll see if something changes. But I mean, it's been fun to follow, right? Like this, we talked about it last week about how keeping everybody engaged, even past elimination, kind of makes things more fun. And these little side matchups have definitely been interesting. I've gotten DMs from some of the teams that are doing it and saying like, oh, like we'd be wiping the floor against any of the teams in the Final Four, and that might be true. And it just ends up kind of keeping that competitive edge in the league that we all have known to come and love. So yeah, definitely a fun matchup for that Banana Trophy. I'm jealous that our school isn't in New Jersey and we won't be able to ever compete for it. But looking forward to see who ends up with the non-engraved trophy.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have that rivalry continue each season. Peter and Luke, our post regular season, post elimination matchup to see who can claim that Banana Cup each year. We've got Ram, the Prince Man himself, is joining us. Here he is, Ram. I don't know if you caught any of what we were talking about, but the most important matchup in the history of the CBL is underway. We have the battle for the Banana Cup, the Battle of New Jersey going on. Peter is up right now with his Rutgers Scarlet Knights over Luke right now by about 120 points or so. Ram, any thoughts on the Jersey Cup, the battle for the state of the Garden State there in New Jersey?
Yeah, active Mets player right now, Ryan Helsley, is apparently very much against Seton Hall. We'll talk about this on the Power Hour when we get to talk a little about New York and Met sports, but he is sabotaging Luke and the Seton Hall Pirates with yet another bad appearance today after Kerry Carpenter took him deep, and it's starting to look like this isn't going to be a close matchup, boys.
Not at all. Luke is getting the floor wiped with him, but that's what he gets for starting Trent Grisham. I mean, if you've got Trent Grisham and Anthony Volpe in your lineup, I mean, you can't win games. So,
Chris is a Trent Grisham owner. Do you have anything to say about that one?
I mean, Trent Grisham's about the only hitter that I have that's been consistent. Him and Cody Bellinger, right? As a notorious Yankee hater, it hurts me. It really does hurt me. But at this point, I'd rather have two Trent Grishams than one Alex Bregman on my roster. So it's definitely not Trent's fault.
Well, from one consolation to another, we've got another. We do have a champion crowned, and that would be the winner of the NIT, as the UCF Golden Knights went over the St. John's Red Storm to win the NIT, becoming our first ever NIT champions. Chuck going to win a little payout there from that win. Wasn't even close at the end. 1,000 points to 653. What did you guys think about the performance of the NIT overall? What did you think about the way that wrapped up and Chuck kept coming out on top?
Chuck should have went for broke a little bit earlier, man, because if you look at some of his scores, like through the NIT, right, especially here in the championship game, 1,001. Right? He outscored some big teams. I mean, you can see it in this graphic right here, Ash. Penn State, one of the contenders right now, 826 on the week. minimized, dwarfed by 1,001 by the UCF Golden Knights. And remember, this is single elimination, just like the regular playoffs. So this man went from a field of 64, right? A starting field of 64. So 64, 32, 16, 8, 4. I mean, this is 6 straight wins then? Is that how? And
yeah.
And with
6
decent
wins.
scores. So, I mean, I think if anything, I mean, it's not even to make him feel bad. It's just one of those things where if you could do this for 6 straight weeks, you culminate with 1,000 points on the board. This could have been we saw some Cinderella runs going into the Sweet 16, give or take. You know, we're not so much there right now at the Final Four, but there could have been some magic happening on UCF side if they went for broke a little earlier, potentially.
Yeah, and you see a couple of guys with 100-point weeks for the UCF Knights. Cam Schlittler, Sandy Alcantara, a couple of guys going over 100 points. I mean, I don't know who his seniors are, but man, I'm wondering if he returns a pretty good chunk of this roster, he could be somebody to contend with next year.
I do believe that he caught a few. I know he got a few extra seniors, which is why people were originally confused by the trade process. But I think I said it on the show when it happened. I'm like, hey, listen, if you're going for the NIT and you want that little payout, I'm not going to blame you. There's nothing wrong with going for the NIT if you feel like you're out of it. So, and we see what's going on right now. I mean, there are some guys that I thought that they were going into this market without a proper red shirt. And it looks like that's not a problem right now, right? I mean, you have your pick of red shirts going in. I thought it was almost a smart thing to say, okay, I want my specific red shirt. Oh, that's right. I'm facing Jim this week. I forgot I still had a matchup going on, and I should set my lineup. But I need to make sure that I do that.
He's planting the seeds for the excuse, Jim. Don't let him get away with it here.
No, I think he's got me because Cantillo did pitch really well this week, and so did Elder. He's right. I think that for everybody, from what I've heard, at least the chatter from the Discord, it seems like it's been a week for pitching that nobody has enjoyed at all. And it seems like some of these guys have been punished for holding down really good pitching. So I do think it's kind of a funny situation because at the end of the day, this is all single elimination. We talk about this at nauseum. And here we go, 1,000-point score on our lead here for UCF. NIT's done. They've got a couple weeks to go relax, right? And they can pick up, even if teams that went with almost no seniors, they're going to have opportunities to make some changes and pick some guys up if they want. Waiver period is actually in a few hours. Right. And I know some people have also talked about the fact of picking up some of these guys to prevent them becoming freshmen in the draft.
Well,
right.
Let's get right to the free agent pool here.
Yeah. I mean,
Chris and I were having a conversation about this before we came on air.
Yeah. I mean, there's a pick of some red shirts here. If you've got nobody, right, you could do worse than Luis Castillo or Sonny Gray or even Torkelson. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say they're the best of them, but I mean, you want a red shirt rather than no red shirt. And there's also no harm in keeping a backup. You know, if you're a guy that's sitting out there and you're thinking, okay, I've designated pitcher A as my red shirt in my head, and that's my only red shirt, why not pick up a second? There's still a couple weeks left in the season. God forbid something happens and you've designated your one senior, bat or pitcher aside, where you said, okay, this is the guy that I'm going to pick. And now they're out for the next year. Well, your red shirt's busted. Right. So, I mean, this is the type of market that if you have a red shirt and you've got a little bit of fab left, the fab does not carry over. We have talked about this multiple times on the show and on the Discord. Fab doesn't carry over. So take your pick and pick somebody up.
And not just that, you can actually play your part in bettering the draft pool, right? Like if you have roster spots, and I'm going to say this, and whether it sounds biased or not, if you have roster spots right now or guys that you just don't really care about that are seniors, and you have the money to spend, just put in $1 claim for a lot of these guys, right? And what this does, it's not about necessarily preventing other teams from getting them. Just hold them, right? Even if you're not going to redshirt them, hold them. And in the draft, you can see one of these guys pushed to the. Ash and I, like he said, we were conversing before the start of the show. One of these guys could get pushed to the 50, the 60. You don't know how. By us diminishing that pool and dropping these guys early and having them reset, we're only hurting the draft, right? At the end of the day. So if you have space on your team and you have a couple bucks to spend, throw a couple of claims in. See what happens. You might end up getting one of these seniors for free. And hey, you might end up getting a good red shirt, as Jim mentioned, setting his lineup.
Yeah. By the way, Jim, I'm gonna set my lineup the rest of the week now to make sure that I'm doing that, because the least
Ram's
I
gonna
can do
put
is
in 10
respect
claims
you.
today.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in 10 claims. I'm gonna get these seniors back off the market, and I gotta make sure I win.
And before we move on, I wanted to mention UCF is in a really interesting spot because their best senior is Yandy Diaz, right? After Yandy, they've got pretty much a stacked lineup of really, really controllable players. Like he's got a freshman Perdomo. He still has a junior Marte and a junior Buxton that are going to be there in form next year. Sophomore Gunner, who we hope bounce back. A freshman Suzuki. Like his team's going to be good. Like there's no doubt about it. And with a lot of these good teams falling back because of all the seniors next season, don't be surprised, right? He ends up getting Yordan Alvarez back here at the end of the season. So don't be surprised, right? His pitching's got Luzardo. He's got Suarez. His pitching is a little bit on the weaker side, but he's got a team to look out for. I didn't want that to go unmentioned since we talked about his roster construction, and he's building something there.
Well, and kind of you were alluding to it, and from our conversation earlier, I mean, if you say you're set to draft number 60 in the draft next year, the volume of seniors that have been dropped that would have been in the in that draft pool, like if you force those guys into like, think about this, like of the top 5 Major League Baseball draft picks from this past summer's draft. Well, there's 8 copies of each. I know that sounds silly to have to say that because it should be obvious, but of the top 5 picks, that means there's 40 of those guys. So then if you force guys like Christian Yelich, Brent Rooker, Matthew Boyd, Sonny Gray, Vinny Pasquantino, there's been multiple Ian Haps drop. I mean, suddenly those guys, some of these guys are going to be drafted ahead of those top 5 MLB picks. So then suddenly you're getting an Ethan Holiday at like 70.
I talked
in the
about
draft.
this, I think earlier at the trade deadline when I was kind of going on one of my rants about why I don't necessarily like rebuilding in this league. You're gonna have an opportunity to get these guys, and as Ash just alluded to, we're not talking about the 30th pick in the MLB draft. We're talking about a top 5 pick. So you're gonna see those big fancy names, and in terms of the top 5, top 10 picks, the pitchers, the hitters that people are gonna like that apparently get traded for a lot of value in this league. That's another confusion that has come up. But the point of the matter being is that you're going to have opportunity here. If you wanted to go prospect only and rebuild, I mean, you would be better off in, let's say, picking maybe a Hap or something and getting a prospect from someone and trading for them, right? Especially if you're going to get these guys. And if you're going to get them as freshmen, I mean, you have an opportunity to pick up stuff like right off the bat, because now I have to ask if these guys reset, they're going to go into the draft as freshmen, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, anybody that once they go into the draft, whoever gets dumped off the rosters after rollover and after we do the designations for red shirts, all the players that get dumped off, that graduate off your roster, those players go into the draft as free agent or as freshmen. So
yeah, they're all going to go as freshmen. So
yeah, so like, I don't know. Like I see the value in deepening the draft pool, because if you're picking like 60th, do you want to have a chance at one of these type of players, or, like the 15th pick in the MLB draft? Like the thinner the draft pool gets, the more likely you're going to have to pick like a non-top 5 MLB draftee in the first round. And even like we haven't even talked about like Minnetonka Murakami. I mean, there's likely to be 8 of him in next year's draft.
Right.
So like I mean, he's probably a guy that's going to go in like the top, 15 or 20 of our draft, depending on how many of these seniors are in it. But I don't know, man. I just think that there's value in making the draft pool, because if you're drafting 80th and all these guys are not in the draft, that really makes who you select at pick 80 a lot. I don't want to say worse, but like, you get what I'm saying. Like the pick. I mean,
it definitely does. As someone who's going to pick like 126th or 125th or 124th, who am I realistically going to get at that point, right? Like if these seniors don't, if these seniors reset now and someone grabs them as a freshman, even the good teams that are dropping all these players are going to be affected by it. It's not just the teams in the middle or the top, like in the top, right? All the teams that are drafting in the back end are also affected because you guys are again, speaking not about one team in particular, but you guys lose in the national tournament, and now you're ridding yourself of seniors off your roster to revamp, but then you're also hurting your first pick. Your first pick's going to be much worse at 120 now than it would have been 4 weeks ago because of all of these drops.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that there has been some analysis maybe that wasn't thought all the way out, even though, I know I was saying it and I kind of got scoffed at about, it's better for me to drop my seniors and pick up, these middle relievers and stuff like that. But I think that picking up your middle reliever is a guy you could have picked up after the draft next year and helped yourself more by having a better player available at your draft pick.
Yeah, I think what's also going to happen, I understand the strategy here of what's going on in terms of if you flood it with seniors, they're not all going to get claims. Some of these guys might get freshmen and they're going to try to use their fab. There is a lot of unspent fab. So I have seen that much. I've gone through that actually. I think with Chris, we had a conversation one night when we were looking at things that there are a lot of teams with hundreds of dollars of fab. And again, I'm going to reiterate for anyone watching that doesn't for some reason know this, the fab does not carry over. So I get it. I mean, but take some time. If you want to try to grab a red shirt now, grab a red shirt. I know that some of them are going to hold that fab and hope that they turn into freshmen so they can try doing that. And I'm not going to fault them if they do, because they're not the guys that flooded the market. They're just taking advantage of the situation. That's fine. It's the same thing as I jaw at Chris all the time for accepting trades that I felt very much favored him, right? But what do I expect him to do? Put his hand up and wave the white flag and say, no, please, this benefits my team too much? No, we're trying to win the league, right? So I understand if someone gets presented something on a silver platter, but it's just a little, my commentary, at least, though, I just say I'm frustrated about the fact that some people just want to rage drop their seniors, because I saw some commentary in the Discord. I think it was from Baylor Mike and stuff like that, and I want to echo it, where he's like, a contingency drop is different than just dumping them all into the pool. I am fine if you're looking to pick up a player, especially someone that you think is going to be good as a freshman, a young guy came up. Let's say Carter Jensen, for example, was available, right? And you're like, okay, I want 4 years of Carter Jensen. I'll drop my senior. Cool. I get that. That makes sense to me. You're thinking,
of course, you're not really going to get 4 years because he's going to use the year of eligibility this year.
So
even though your
three and a quarter,
yeah.
right? But something like that, I'm cool with that. It makes sense, right? Versus the idea of because also, first off, that's a good point. The people picking up freshmen now, I mean, you're picking up freshmen and they're going to be sophomores if they stay on, right? So you're kind of losing that year anyway. But putting that aside, I'm fine with the contingency drop situation. If you're like, hey, I'm going to drop because I want this player, to just kind of dump them into the pool, I think it's just funny to me. Because, look, we trash talk all year. We talk about stuff. But for me, it's just kind of funny just to quietly, drop your seniors into it for nothing. If you want to create chaos, I get it. But, I just think it's amusing to me to watch that behavior. Because, I mean, it just feels very much like sore loser behavior. I think in real life when this happened, what was it? The Angels, I think, that did this a couple years ago.
Yeah, they were trying to save money.
Right, but they traded, they went for
tax.
it, and then they dropped everybody. But then people were like, what a clown organization, right? And the cool thing about when we can mimic real life in fantasy, we like that. So for me, it's also the same feeling of what a clown organization to be able to just dump them into the pool. Come on, man, do better. At least pretend it to have a contingency plan thing going. Pretend you want to do something here that I don't know. It just kind of makes me laugh, because we'll see what happens. I know that some people are you alluded to, they're going to pick up these younger classmen, and they're going to lose a portion of it anyway, because you're not getting them for the full 4 years. You're going to get 3 out of them, if so, right? I don't know. I guess I came from going into the national tournament. I was having more fun with the idea of negotiating with less fab and picking guys up. I joked about a warming Bernabel and the fact that he gave me a 75-point week, and that's what helped me beat Rhode Island. So Jeremiah Jackson, former prospect for the Angels, and he's been up with the Orioles, right? In the last 7 days, Jeremiah Jackson has put up 72.5 points. And he was on UCF squad too. And like, so there were moves available that I understand. Like I'm a guy who owns Jeremiah Jackson, so I think it's funny. I'm like, these are moves that I understand. If you're dropping your seniors for that, and you're like, hey, this flash in the pan might be worth something next year, I get it. You want someone with more years than the senior, but the idea of, I think, just dumping them and just saying we're going to figure it out. I mean, what do you expect to gain from that? Are you just going to pick seniors back up? I don't think so. So
what? Yeah, you were totally right in my opinion. And the other thing is, like I kind of brought it up a second ago, but I think that after rollover, we're going to have some people that didn't realize that their claims right now are going to increase in their class standing. And when we roll them over to sophomores, I guarantee that's going to be one of the arguments is, oh, but I didn't pick him up to the last week and that kind of thing. So like, yes, if you claim somebody that's in the pool right now as a freshman, when we roll over, that player will be a sophomore. So,
right. But if you claim them after the draft, they will be a freshman.
Or take them in the draft.
Or take them in the draft, right?
Yeah.
Which is the idea. So I kind of spit on the idea of like, oh yeah, maybe I'll get them as a freshman now. No, maybe you'll get them as a sophomore now, right? And not only are you screwing yourself because you're kind of hoping, you're not even guaranteed to do it, because like I said, there's a ton of fab left in the league. You go to league info, you can see
Peter missed our conversation. I'm sure we talked all about the most important matchup in the history of the CBL.
Peter, we started with your matchup. We literally started. The first thing we talked about was your matchup, Peter.
I'm glad he at least sent the banana to himself, so he in this case doesn't have to send another one out. But God help me. But yeah, no, I do think, because by flood, if your plan is to flood the market with seniors, that one of them doesn't get claimed and they end up as a freshman and you want to get them, you're getting them as a sophomore, you're shorting yourself, which is dumb. And there's no guarantee you're going to get them, because somebody might just swoop in and out fab you. And then what happened, right? You made a fool of yourself. So I don't really necessarily think it's a great way to go about things. As nice as I'm trying to be about it, I don't get it, so we'll see. I mean, it almost puts me in a position where I've talked about this, Chris, where I'm like, I guess if I didn't drop like some of my seniors because I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to add to the flood. I still got like a Seiya Suzuki and stuff like that, Manny Machado. I don't want to just throw them out there because I don't necessarily want them to end up as like freshmen in that regard.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, what comes of this, these waiver runs are going to continue, especially for the fact that the Natty's coming down to, the last few matchups. Chris, you would know better than the two of us, right? That's where we're at. I'm assuming we're probably going to see a little bit more. I do appreciate, though, that I said it last week. I'm really glad that you guys kind of put that pack together to try to like not influence your rosters with this going on.
Yeah, we've today's going to be one of those days where I'm just not going to jot down the names one by one. I told Ash there's just too many at this point. There's only 4 of us left, so it's kind of easier to say, hey, just stray away from hitters averaging 4 points per game and pitchers averaging 16 or more. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate everybody in the Elite Eight. Again, shout out to whoever it was that originally suggested it. I think it was a really good idea and honorable, right, to finish the Natty in the cleanest way possible. And there was no reason for a lot of the teams to do it, right? We still had some fab left in the Elite Eight, and me and my $11 and a dream can definitely grab a freshman Brandon Nimmo. But no, I mean we're gonna try to stick to it and do the best that we can to finish this off strong. But yeah, I mean I'm excited either way, right? Like we're like Ram said, we're now in hour 0, so.
Chuck says, I almost want them as a freshman now for better chance of getting said players versus the draft.
You mean as a sophomore?
As a sophomore, yeah.
Because that's exactly my point, is that you're not, and then you're also not guaranteed to get them. That's what I feel like. You're not the draft with less of a chance of getting that player. Go look at league info and look at how much fab is left. there's hundreds of dollars of fab still there. So you're basically saying, I don't have a guarantee of getting them either way. So I'll take the sophomore over the freshman.
And part of what you're doing, right? And I'm just going to mention this one specifically because we looked at it before the show. You're also giving really good teams with fab an opportunity to get players that shouldn't have been available. For example, Brandon Nimmo became a freshman. And Brandon Nimmo is now owned by what is going to be a consensus top 3 team next year. And he's going to have him for 3 full seasons because there were, for some reason, 5 copies of Brandon Nimmo available last week, right? And that's part of the issue, right? It kind of changes the balance before it has to happen. And sure, it's not going to be a freshman Brandon Nimmo next year; it'll be a sophomore. But my point still stands. That was a senior Brandon Nimmo. That would have been a freshman in the draft. That is now taken. That's now one less copy that we're going to have. And what Chuck says is true. Sure, you can guarantee getting him now if you have the fab to spend, but you're not getting him as a freshman. And with the amount of players that we have to remember there's 8 copies of each one of these players. There's a really good chance that you in a later pick are going to have a really good choice in that first round.
Yeah, and speaking of the good teams, I do think we ought to give we're on a time crunch tonight because we got the New York Power Hour at the bottom of the hour, and we are almost at 10 o'clock. So we've got about 30 minutes, and we actually need to hop off a few minutes before then so that we can transition to the other studio. But I think we ought to transition to the Final Four, guys. What do you think about looking at these matchups and go ahead and breaking down these games in the Final Four?
We got 2 matchups, baby. Let's make it happen.
All right. So we'll start it out here. We've got Northern Colorado, who was a number 3 seed overall, taking on the Penn State Nittany Lions, the 13 seed overall in the national tournament. Right now, we've got Penn State with 227 points, trailing Northern Colorado at 271 points. Go ahead and let's break it down, guys. Ram, what do you think about this matchup, and how do you see it playing out?
Well, Chris has accurately, and I say that non-sarcastically, pegged Northern Colorado as the remaining favorite for the 4 teams. And I think this, even though it's a slim lead, it's kind of playing in that way. Northern Colorado took care of business all throughout the conference tournament, has been cruising through the Natty. I mean, as much as we thought DBU was going to do that, they did up to a point, and Northern Colorado has done the same on the other side and just continued. Right. And so at the end of the day, Northern Colorado is taking care of business. I know Chuck's upset because Nolan McLean's looking real good. And the further Nolan McLean goes with his career, the worse Chuck looks.
Do you think Nolan McLean will be better than Jason Isringhausen?
I'm starting to believe that. Yes.
Do you think Jonah Tong will be better than Bill Pulsifer?
Fairly certain on that one.
Do you think Christian Scott will be better than Paul Wilson?
I'm going to go yes as well. So
I just had to do it.
We may
do it again on the New York Power Hour.
We might be getting a little bit better, I can't wait to make up a nickname for them a couple years down the line when it's safe. And then guys like Chuck can't mock me. But just back and listen. Apparently, Ryan Hellsley's got an NIL deal with Rutgers. Definitely working as a double agent. But yeah, to swing back here, I mean, and you see the lead was kind of developed today. Northern Colorado with 103 on the day so far, and Penn State with 27. Yeah, and that's with the fact that George Kirby with a negative 50. Right, Robbie Ray is saving his ass. And that's a tough one because if you look over on the Penn State side, it's not like they're short on pitching. Crochet, Imanaga, and Wu, but Crochet had one of his worst outings of the years, if not his worst outing of the year the other day. Wu also had negative points. Webb gave up a few runs to the Rockies. So it's funny because I do believe it might have been you, Chris. If not, it pertained to your team. But going into these last matchups, the whole year pitching has carried teams. And now it feels like pitching has decided to stop giving a shit. So teams that have a stronger offense like yours have been able to kind of come out in a better place. And that's a good thing, right? But I think Northern Colorado is hopeful that it's funny, I think, only because both of these Final Four matchups are a little bit lower scoring than anyone would have thought so far. Right, Chris? To kind of throw the ball
much
to you.
Lower scoring.
Right? It's
been aside from Well, Northern Colorado and Cal today have both had some strong pitching days, right? I think Cal's up to almost 120 points through his pitching. No negative starts for the first time all week, but you mentioned Crochet and Woo, right? Yesterday I thought was going to be a day that I could, extend my lead. Penn State probably thought the same, and instead of extending it by a substantial margin, we didn't. We essentially went on the negative with both of them, and opened the door. Open the door to Cal and Northern Colorado to establish themselves in the lead, and we'll talk about my matchup in a little bit here. But looking at it, I mentioned I pegged Northern Colorado as a favorite, just based on their pitching and their health. Right, Cal's lost Wheeler and Eovaldi. He also lost Edward Cabrera this week. I lost Eovaldi. And I'm throwing Michaelis and Davis Martin out there every week, so that might as well be having two pitchers hurt. So Northern Colorado's rolling right now, and if they can kind of get into that rhythm, I think they do end up, taking care of business and making that national championship. I did want to mention before we keep going, it's funny that how everything lined up, where Northern Colorado and Penn State are the lone remaining conference champions. Right, they're two teams that had a bye, and on the other side, you're going to see two teams that did not have a bye. Right, we've both played an extra week, so you're going to get a taste of both in the final, no matter what. A team that came from the round of 24, and then a team who had a bye. So that'll be interesting. But I do think Northern Colorado is just a lot to handle. So and Crochet unfortunately isn't having a two start week, he won't be able to amend some of his wrongdoing there. So we'll see.
The face, by the way, I made when you were talking wasn't anything pertaining to you. I saw that Crochet got lit up, but I guess because he pitched 6 innings, it was only a -14.
He got lit up because the 6th inning he gave up 4 home runs. He had I think 38 points when that inning started.
Oh, so that's what it was. So it's just kind of like
Yeah,
but you can see the negatives are littered all over this matchup, especially on the NorCal side. 50 there, 10 there, 13 there, 5 from Darvish. I mean, they've got to be soon. At what point do you start getting afraid and not start your guys, right? Do you start thinking I gotta and that's also, it's sarcastic, but it's also a question I'll ask you, Chris, because we're gonna turn into your matchup soon, right? Do you start having that fear with the way things are going that you would
absolutely
have to sit your guys?
without I'm down almost 100 points. At least last time I checked. I went into the day up 50. I'm not entirely sure what the number's at right now. I only had 1 starter versus his 4. He had Ohtani, but Ohtani ended up. He was lucky enough to bring Ohtani back into the hitter side. That's actually something funny that I was talking to him about. Through DMs. This is the first Ohtani I face all season. So I wasn't aware that you have to move him from.
Yes, he can be utility or starting pitching, but
so
you have to bounce him back.
I wasn't entirely sure that you can't get both.
Right.
So he was like, he DM'd me right before the game or right after the game started. He was like, thankfully I noticed and put him into the lineup as a hitter since his start either got pushed or they're going to skip him in this go around. Yeah. But wait, what just happened? Oh, Contreras probably did something because I don't think I had. Yeah, he just hit a triple. Okay. Either way, heading into this matchup, you were mentioning about benching and starting. I talked to Ash before we started. I have 77 points on my minors from pitching on day 1 that I just, Kai-Wei Tang, our favorite San Francisco pitcher, had a great outing. And then I think Alvarez, I picked up on Sunday and was too scared to start him in his first MLB start. Against the Nationals, and I regret it. He put up 47 points, right? So that is the difference right now in our matchup. And I told Ash, if I lose by under 80 points, I'm going to be livid. And what that's going to end up doing is it's going to force me to play everyone the rest of the way because I am not losing for benching a start.
Everyone's going back. Like I see Gallon scored 51 points and
6 out of his 7 last starts, I think, have been positive.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to someone about it, but I see. I also think it's kind of funny to watch people play the games that we play. Like, I talked about Udell and I, like, spamming starters and doing that stuff, right? Look at the Cal side, man. Jason Alexander, Uendry Gomez. These are not guys he went into the year with, right? It's okay. And he's being bold, right? And I mean, I respect it, but I think it's funny. Uendry's, by the way, has been pretty successful. There's 20 from there. Jason Alexander, 4.5. I mean, these are positive points. They weren't negatives, right?
And yesterday he had the balls to throw out. Who was it? It was Tyler Wells in his first start in like 500 days.
Is that on? Scroll down for me, Ash. Is that on there too?
Which one?
Yeah, Tyler Wells with 22.75. These are not guys that were
500 plus days, and he threw them out there, right? So he's definitely adopting that. I'm just throwing everybody out there, and whatever happens, happens, and that's what I'm going to do the rest of the way. I think, looking at the rest of the week ahead, between Thursday and Saturday, I'm going to have about 3-4 extra starts on him. And I'm throwing all of them out there, right? Eduardo Rodriguez is going to pitch against the Red Sox, and hopefully we continue to strike out at an ungodly rate. And it's just, at this point, there's no point in not starting them, right? You made it this far. You don't want to end up losing because you didn't start someone, right? Like, I won't be upset if I lose by more than 80, right? Because that's just it. If I lose by less than 80 points, I will be super upset because I left guys on the bench. So that's just a matter of the fact at this point, like, right, we've talked about all the negative starts, right? And it's definitely affected things. But Cal's offense has been, if you look at the total points, he's outscored me by a substantial amount offensively through 3 days. And that, as a team who's been consistently amongst the top scoring teams, if not the top scoring team offensively, that's kind of also been a hurdle to kind of overcome. But, I mean, we'll see. Start-wise, again, I think we're pretty much evened out all the way. So we'll see who has less negatives on Sunday. Peter mentioned Davis Martin. Davis Martin will be my lone starter on Sunday. And it is going to be Davis Martin versus, I think, Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray. So I need a pretty substantial lead heading into Sunday. But we'll see, man. I've had so much fun. So I'm not even upset at this point.
He's actually been your ace this week.
Davis Martin and Miles Michaelis have been my two best pitchers this week.
Yeah, Davis Martin with 22.15 has been your strongest start so far. I mean, Diaz helped you out with 23 from the save, but it's just crazy. Like, you would never think that Davis Martin would be in a position where he outscores like Crochet and the boys. And I see on the offensive side, it's tough because you got 52 from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but Varsho has decided he can hit again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just, it's rough, right? Because, like, it's the tough things when those moments happen because you start to get nervous, right? Like, you expect 52 from Vlad. You expect him to get hot. You don't expect Dalton Varsho to go pound for pound with him in a playoff week. And that's the kind of stuff that just frankly sucks. I mean, look, if you were there, if Ellie De La Cruz has killed me in other leagues too, right? I think he got me a victory over me in another league, right? 5 for the week. If you tell me Dalton Varsho has 10 times this production for the week, if it was Ellie with 52, you'd be like, yeah, okay, right? But these contributions are coming from those guys. I mean, Ketel Marte with a good day yesterday helped you out too. I mean,
even for him, Royce Lewis has like 30 points on the week, and Royce Lewis was somebody he added a couple weeks ago.
Cal
McNeil with 40 points.
Well.
All of a sudden, Jeff McNeil can hit, and he can't get out. Right, he either hits or gets a walk. Like, it's been frustrating, right? And I've resorted to not looking at my matchup consistently, right? After beating FAU for a third time last week, it almost felt like a culmination, unfortunately, for the team. I felt like I was watching those at-bats like if they were under a microscope for me. Like, I couldn't stop looking at my screen. This week, with the bad starts, I've kind of just, every 2-3 hours I'll check the score and hope that it's in my favor. But we still have a long way to go, right? 4 days still left in this matchup. So in both sides, right? You talk about Penn State. Penn State still, there's a reason he's here. He's a conference champion. Anything can really happen between now and then. I was talking to Ash about how some of these players, I think there's 3 copies of Freddie Peralta, 3 copies of Kevin Gosman, and it's interesting because of course we're the last 4 teams, but there's some there's obviously a reason why we're here, right? And we share a lot of those same players. Cal and I share our bullpens are almost identical, right? We don't have an edge on one way or another. He's got he's got Uribe and I've got Diaz, but aside from that, our bullpens are. I can't get points from Chapman. I can't get points from Estevez. I can't get points from Sosa, right? Like we they're just mirrored. So those others, right? Those are going to be the difference.
Yeah, and then I was just looking at the projected scores. I mean, Fantrax's projected score the rest of the way has 731 to 714. So this is going to definitely go down to the last, last games of that day on Sunday. So this is going to be a fun one to watch as the week progresses. Likewise with the Northern Colorado and Penn State game.
Let me ask,
because
you mentioned that. Does that account for the starts on the bench, or is it only for the
I don't know.
I have a feeling
it doesn't account for the starts on the bench. I can tell you that for certain because
of this it doesn't.
Got like 7 starters on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that it doesn't because if you highlight in the pitching starts, finish, current, and remaining, this is not always accurate if you go and look at the bench players and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's only for players that are in the active lineup right now. So it would change, like on, let's say, like a random Thursday, if you have like Vlad Guerrero not playing that day, then it would mess up this projected score. I guess.
It doesn't do the starting stuff because I've had that before where I'm like, this guy has way more starts than me. What happened? Like I actually remembered against the Rhode Island matchup, and I was like, why is it showing I have more starts the rest of the way? And it's because he set his lineup daily. So all his guys would be on his bench until he would go in and put them in. So I could never.
I've said this multiple times. I cannot stay. Chris does it, right? Good Chris does it. Penn State does it. And it's so frustrating because I don't want to go to your team and scroll day by day and count. It's the most annoying thing ever. And hey, it almost ended up affecting FAU in his matchup against DBU where he didn't play Lusardo or Castillo. Thankfully, Castillo was like a negative 60 that day. But when you don't set your pitching rotations up early, you run that risk of missing a start.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just off the top of my head, because I pulled up this little bragging rights rivalry between Rhode Island and Florida Atlantic. What if we took the 2 bottom teams in the points for in the very last week of the season? Obviously, we can't do it this year because you can't change rules on the fly. But in the future years, you have those 2 teams that would have the first 2 picks in the draft. You have them play for the number 1 overall pick.
I'm in a league actually. Cool. I'm in a league that does that as an anti-tanking measure where
I don't think it's totally anti-tanking, but it keeps you interested because you're not going to be dropping players.
I would do a consolation tournament for the picks though. Actually, that's what
we do that in another league, and it kills it. I don't like the side effects when you get too many teams into that because then what happens is the teams are just outside of it. Then tank to get in it.
I would do it for the last 8.
Then those teams don't want to trade either.
Since we have 8 of the number 1 pick going into any year, I would do it for the last 8. I would do an 8-man tournament. And
that's not a bad idea.
The winner of the 8-man tournament,
it's not a big.
No, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't affect it. Those teams aren't going to be competing for anything anyway. It shouldn't affect dynamic. So 8 out of 128, I would say put those 8 in a matchup, and the winner of that tournament, 8-4-2, and then 1 gets the number 1 pick because there are 8 copies of the number 1 player, right? So if there's a consensus thing, and then based on how they work in that tournament, it's anti-tanking in the sense that you can't just set no lineup. You have to actually win something to get the number 1 pick and be like bad and active, and you got to pay attention to the league.
And those bottom 8 teams could have consolation games for each subsequent pick too.
Yes, that's exactly what I would do.
Like the final 2 teams would determine picks 1 and 2.
Bingo.
And then you'd have out of the teams that got eliminated in the final 4, they would play a game to see who gets picks 3 and 4.
Yes, exactly that. That's what I would do for the last 8 to make the. We talked about ideas for other games. I'll put that in our rule suggestion box for the Big East a little bit later. But
I did want to mention, sorry, because you mentioned in the Big East rules proposals and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked a lot about anti-dropping players policies. So I think what we will do, because each conference can only propose 2 items for the league leadership agenda, as far as like hashing out changes and that kind of thing. But because this is such a widespread thing, I would hate for like multiple conferences to put that as one of their 2 things.
Right.
So I think we will go ahead and just move that forward into the league leadership discussion, on implementing policies and procedures to prevent the drop to discourage drops. I don't want to say prevent, but discourage drops. Because that way it frees up conferences to have other items on their agenda put forward. If
Yeah,
that
I
makes
do
sense, what I'm
think.
trying to
Yeah,
say.
I do think we're gonna have to get to a point. I mean, luckily we have a lot of heads involved in this, but there's gonna be a lot of overlap of stuff. So I do think it's gonna get to a point where if we see something from like 4 conferences, we can say like, okay, this is an overall point of discussion,
Yeah.
and then we can take 2 others from that conference because it's gonna be that way, especially with it being year 1. Right. I mean, we've talked a lot about this being a work in progress, as it should be, because it's year 1 for what is a ridiculous undertaking of 128 teams. So I do anticipate a lot of rule change discussion going in. What I will say, and echo something you've said before too, is that I love that we've had a lot of people very quickly kind of respond whether they're going to stay or leave the league. I'm grateful for that type of like quick draw on the responses because it allows us to keep searching and have an idea how many people we're looking for. And the more time we have to find new teams, the better. So I'm grateful for the fact
And
that
we already
people
have
have been very
a
quick.
waiting list going in our league ads. The other thing is, I did mention a couple of weeks ago that we created a channel called BDS Suggestion Box. We are looking at doing a complete overhaul of the layout of the Discord server. And I did put that suggestion box for people to come up with ideas on how we can kind of revamp the layout of the server. We haven't got much feedback so far. So if you guys have some thoughts that you want us to do as far as like relaying out the server and making overhaul and changes to the server, please do that because we obviously want to make things work the way that you want them to, as people that come in and take part in our discussions, whether they're in general conversation or league chats or whatever it is, how we can serve you as with our Discord server better. Please provide any feedback that you may have in that BDS suggestion box. Because kind of what happened with the evolution of the server is we originally had like 3 leagues that were in there. And then as we kind of added things haphazardly along the way as we grew. And now that we've got something like 10 different leagues, things are not necessarily organized the best way because of the way it grew. And I think we can make the changes to the overall server. So if you have ideas that you'd like to see added, changed, whatever it is, please put them in there because we definitely appreciate your feedback on that. But transitioning off of that, I think we need to make some predictions. We won't make you predict, Chris. Rand, what are your predictions from these Final Four matchups? Oh, you're muted, I think. I don't hear you.
Let me fix that. Are we good now? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think if it comes down to the fact, like we were talking about, at least I was saying that it might come down to pitching being out the window, and it's going to come down to offense. The math would make me believe that Evil Chris has this one in the bag, but I would say that right where we are now. The fact that it's a tight matchup, it's going to be. I think it's going to be one where, all jokes aside, you guys are going to be watching all the games on Sunday, right? If the pitching continues to be the way it is, I do think that you can pull this one out, Chris. But right now, I know that you're probably nervous and you don't necessarily want to like say it. So but there's some nerves here, but you've been happy to do what you've done. If gun to my head right now, though, looking at the numbers, I think Cal might have this one down. Their team has picked up pretty good where they needed to right now. Their scores have been pretty high, and I think they're continuing that trend going forward.
Yeah, and if you look at it right now, Florida International, or excuse me, Penn State is now only down 17 points to Northern Colorado. So I'm going to
Ray imploded.
Yeah, I'm going to be the contrarian. And I'm going to predict that Penn State, he just became a father. I think he's going to, be able to be a good shining example for that newborn, and he's going to pull this win out and move on to the final round. facing off against, and I've got to do it. I've got to say that Cal is going to win. Not to slight you, Chris, but the other Chris in the Chris Bowl is he's an OG in the server, so I got to support our guy. I believe he would be the first person to be a 3-league champion in the Best Damn Sports server. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool to see. And he's actually still in the semifinals for ABA. And if he were to win ABA and CBL, he would be a 4-time league champ in the server. And actually, he won USBL 2 times. So, but he would have won 4 different leagues if he were to win both of those leagues that he's still in the running for. So that's kind of my predictions for that. Any other thoughts that you want to give on the matchups, Chris?
No, I mean, you guys both said it. It's going to come down. I feel like it's going to be close. I don't think we'll be sitting pretty on Sunday either matchup. As I think, Northern Colorado's just, to me, Northern Colorado is still the favorite. So I'll go with Northern Colorado in that regard.
Yes, I echo that because I didn't say it, but I echo that. I think he wins.
Yeah, and if Luke Weaver can get out of, he's not going to get out of this inning. As Jordan Alvarez drives in 2, that's great for my team. So the pitching continues, right? So I'm going to actually say that Cal's going to be able to hold off, since I have no confidence in this bullpen, and this is the only arm that I have that he doesn't. So I'm going to say Cal in Northern Colorado.
All right. This has been a great show. We're kind of on the clock as we're getting ready to transition over to the New York Power Hour. If you enjoyed this show, please stick around with us at the bottom of the hour when we start the New York Power Hour. So we are going to have to depart so that we can get the other studio ready for the show. But any final thoughts, Ram?
It's still been a fun season. I very much have enjoyed, even though my boys are over on vacation right now, I very much am around for this stuff. As always, I'm appreciative to you, but I just want people to know that this is the time to talk about the league in a good way. Like, this is where we need to figure out what we're going to fix going into next season. I'm not as active in the Discord because I don't necessarily want to chew everybody's heads out right now, but here's my honest thought process. Like, let's be productive here, folks. We want this league to succeed, and everyone in this league wants it to succeed and wants it to last. So stop being a jackass, right? Like, let's talk to each other like human beings. Let's be productive, and let's figure out how to fix this league. If you're going to complain about something, offer me a solution. I want this league to succeed a lot, and I know that we can do it together. So let's talk about what we need to do, move forward to keep people in the league and what we feel the actual problems, and let's make this happen, because it's going to be here next year. It's going to happen. So let's figure out how to make it a better place. And then next year we'll do it again, and we'll figure out how to make it a better place from there. This is year 1. We're doing pretty good for 128 teams.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts, Chris?
I'm going to echo what Ram said. This has been an insane run, insane league, right? The fact that you were able to, you and everybody else that's had a hand and has been able to keep this going. And again, we can all have different opinions in the Discord and whatnot. Some be more vocal than others, but let's just remember that we're playing fantasy sports here, man. Like, it's supposed to be fun, right? We're all competitive. We all want to win. And at the end of the day, we don't have to bicker 24/7 with one another. Voice your opinion. It'll be heard when the rule changes come, and good luck to the rest of the Final Four. Good luck to everybody on the waivers today. Remember, put in those claims, and we will see. Well, not we, Ram and Ash will see you in the New York Power Hour.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button on the episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Thank you, and we'll see you on the other side.